Alright, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, and we're back for part 2, and really it's just been a couple seconds since I stopped recording for length time, so I didn't have to learn how to edit and stuff. So now we're going to come back with our witch's cottage, and we're going to start planking the side of it. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut some of these edges wonky with a pair of scissors. And then glue them, and then come back and snip off the other side once I get a length so I don't have to measure them. Something like that. I'm just going to snip off. And it doesn't have to be perfect or good. It can just be however. And I don't know how witches build their cottages, because I don't actually know any witches. So just assume I'm doing the best of what I can guess a witch cottage might turn out like. I'm going to draw the miniatures on that. So we might want to do like a window there. And I think what we'll do for a window is we'll just make an offcut and just kind of stick it on there and do it like that. I don't think we're going to go too extreme with this. I'm not thinking that these witches spend a lot of time making window frames and stuff super good. They might. I'm starting to regret this now. I'm thinking maybe I should have planned for a window. Maybe they don't have a window on this side. Maybe this is just a window on the back and a door on the front. Maybe that's the secret here. That could be the better plan. Maybe there's no window. That's probably smarter. When I say smarter, I guess what I really mean is easier and faster. So I don't really know like what my plan is for painting, because if I was building this, I would have painted that part, then added the top part, and then I would have actually kind of made it separate and then painted that so I could paint the inside, and then I would just glue it together, or I would have just made it to where it fits on and kind of sits there, so that if I wanted to take it off for whatever reason, I could. But when I make a project, I usually have a plan of some sort, and when I work with you guys, I never do. I just kind of go crazy and do. Now you could get like a wire brush and do something with these planks here if you wanted to. You could even get that same metal tool and score these if you wanted, you know, something like that, and give it some kind of texture. I didn't do that. But you could. It's not out of the realm of possibility. There's another smart thing that would have been to do that I didn't tell you guys or think about till just now. And that would have been to do like the back first. And then you could cut them flush and then have those going over. That would have been the smart play instead of doing what I'm doing. But we're just here crafting and having fun on a early 4th of July. It's not really early, but on 4th of July. Now we got a wonky piece here that I think is going to be disruptive. Let me get a smaller pair of snips out and let's deal with that wonky piece. There we go. That's better. Still a little wonky. Let's see if I can't get that off there. There we go. I'm not sure what those are really called. They're just little snippers that I got at probably Hobby Lobby or Joann's or Michael's or who knows. But they have one side's real flat. I bought them for customizing HeroClix. Literally the main reason I bought them was for that. It's just, you know, just one of those make it easy kind of deals. Chances are this witch gets cold, because there are a lot of leaks in this place. A A lot of bad spots where the air is just going to blow through and chill her to the bones. So let's hope she is sturdy. Maybe she has a high constitution. She's not intimidated by your cold. She comes out and she's like, I'm the best witch. Cold doesn't bother me. Who knows? Maybe it does. Maybe she's like, I'm so grumpy because I'm cold all the time. Sounds like my wife. I'm freezing. In that voice, too. Oh, God. It's so cold in here. We could make ice cubes on my feet. Oh, good. Stinky feet ice cubes. I was hoping, my love. Maybe I should marry a witch. So, okay. Here's the deal. When you're playing tabletop games, the official name of a witch is generally hag, right? In D&D, for sure, it's hag. You can call them whatever you want. You are not obligated to call them a hag, and you're not obligated to play them according to the book. There are some hags that are kind of cool, like the night hag is actually kind of cool. It might be worth playing it as a night hag and using some of the stat block, or at least some of its fluff. Right? Fluff is like stuff they put in the book to thicken the book up, so they tell a little bit about the creatures and stuff. And some people care about the fluff, especially like RPers and stuff. And some people don't. And in my group, they tend to be more RPers, so they do care about the fluff some. I've had groups in the past that they just wanted to kill stuff. Murder hobos that didn't care about RP, and you could be a murder hobo and care about RP, but some don't. Well, anyways, you don't have to run stuff according to the book too much. I think it's good, especially because of characters. If you're playing an older edition or a monster that's pretty normal, everybody knows its stats or what it can do or what its weakness is or something about it. So if you don't really use that stuff when you play your games, you're going to enrich your player's experience because they are surprised. They don't know what's the deal. Maybe you keep some things about it, like maybe you have some similar stuff, or maybe you make up your own stuff. For example, how about this? A witch's weakness isn't what it says in the book anymore. It is now a hag or witch or whatever you're calling it is now injured by rose water. Maybe you have to make a special rose water tea and coat your weapon in it or splash it on them. Maybe maybe you can't use magic on this witch at all because they always counterspell, or they have a field around them that they generate that resists magic. So your wizard can't run any yell fireball. Think of every enemy and make it a little different. And when you play different campaigns, you can keep some of that continuity, but also maybe change it up a little bit each time. Or maybe make it to where there's dozens of different types of witches instead of 3 or 4. Maybe there's so many types of witches. There's not just anise hags and sea hags and night hags and stuff. No, there are infinite ways they could evolve and change based off their backstory of how they became a witch or why they're a witch or what's going on. When I realize that many witches are born witches, like the night hags kidnap a child and then they do something to it, and then they do something to a pregnant lady. Maybe that's what it is. I can't remember now. And then it grows up, and at 13 or 14, it becomes a hag. I know that, but you don't have to do that. That's not the rule. You can make it to where maybe some witches are lovers scorned, and it's had a profound impact on their life. I shouldn't say profound, but a profound impact on their life to where they're messed up from it, and it turned them into a witch. And that makes a more interesting witch right off the bat, because even though maybe it's long since the time where she was wronged and there's no way to get justice for what she's done, she has a hatred for love or happiness or families, and that's why she's doing what she's doing. And maybe her resistances and her weaknesses should be based off something like that. So maybe stabbing this lady with a bouquet of flowers is the way to get good results in killing her. Because, maybe her love, she saw him give flowers to someone else. I don't know. These are just things you can do to make your game more interesting. And it also gives you a reason for characters to have to investigate around and ask questions and research and be more than just murder hobos. We're going out to kill a witch. Well, we don't know what her weaknesses are. Maybe we should stop and find out more about her. And doing that adds a lot to your game, dudes. It really does. Take the time. to think and to be creative, and your players will likely reward you with the same. And a collaborative story is a good story. Building a world together is a lot more fun than building a world alone. That's just a fact of it, dude. Like, all right, for this top piece, I think we're just going to use a piece of wood here because I have one more piece out, and I don't have a plan for it yet. Oops, something like that. Yep, that'll do her. Let's rough that up. Crappy plank, crappy plank. Boop, 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 boop. And since witches are kind of supernatural in nature, whether you consider them fae or outsiders or however you treat them, or if you just think they're just magic warped women, or even men, I guess, if you're doing that, you can do a lot with that. You don't have to be locked into a mold. So, using different weaknesses and maybe even supernatural abilities that don't fall under any current rule set help. And I've talked about this before, I think, in some shorts, but I had them fight a witch one time, and every round, at the beginning of the fight, some characters were designated as even and some were designated as odd based off of a roll. And every round, if you were even, this happened, and if you were odd, this happened. And it created this strange fear of them not knowing how to handle it, because this round the fighter's down, this round the wizard and the healer are down, this round the rogue's down, you know. This happened. Now we got teleported in a 1d12 clock direction 20 foot. And, you know, oh my God, the bard just fell off a cliff, you know, and of course he caught himself on vines and was hanging there and was okay. But, you know, it's not a devastating change. It's not killing somebody randomly without them being able to protect themselves, but it's something without a save that just happens. And maybe it's based off of an ancient ritual she's cast where they're fighting, or something that's been bestowed upon her by an evil dark force. You don't know. You can explain it however you want, or you can not explain it and plan on it being a reoccurring thing they don't know how to deal with. And these are just some ideas of what you could do. I decided that looks pretty good like that. I don't know if I really want to add too much here. I kind of want to give her a cauldron, but I don't want to invest the time into that because I'm lazy. So I think I'll make that as a standalone piece. And I think this looks pretty decent like that. But what I'd like to do, since it looks kind of crisp and nice, is I'd like to kind of do some little stuff here. Let's cut this up a little bit. Something like that. Like something has damaged her home at one time. And this would have been easier to do while we were constructing it. And I even started making that window, which would have been the ideal time to do something like this. But you can come in later and do it. That's the beautiful thing about crafting. That's why it's fun. Like, if you have ideas, you're not locked in. You can make some changes if you want to. So let's say there's some damage there, and that needs supported because there's no supports. This house is built in a very crazy way. So what we're going to do is just make a couple pieces to, like, some hasty repairs have been made. Maybe she lured some local laborer out here using her wiles, had him do a patch job, and then killed him because it wasn't great. We don't know. We weren't there. Oops, dropped my little fake plank. Something like that. Let's just get a couple dabs on there to make sure it sticks. Let's do another one of those. Something like that. Right there, maybe. We want to make sure that it's sturdy, so you have to get like a little bit of this and shove it behind there or whatever and make that work, you have to do that. You gotta, even if it's just a little dab of glue, it doesn't make sense, just to make sure this doesn't come loose in the future. Do that. So I just want to get that glue there and make that match up. And this one goes behind here a little bit. We're just going to do the same thing, just a tiny little bit of glue, and then just wipe off the excess. You might want to put on gloves or use a piece of cardboard if you're sensitive to the heat. Some people are. Honestly, something's wrong with me. Like, stuff burns me, but like, there's something that you do, like when you get hurt, like I see it in my kids and in my wife and stuff, where you jerk away. And I do that occasionally, but most of the time when I feel pain, my body doesn't tell me to jerk away. It just kind of goes, yep, you're hurting. It's kind of weird. I don't know how to explain it. I talked to the doctor at the VA about it and told him that it wasn't always like that, that, when I was younger, I was a normal human being that, when it hurt, I knew it hurt. And now I just kind of don't understand that concept like I used to. And he said he wouldn't worry about it. So if he wouldn't worry about it, I shouldn't worry about it. He is a doctor. I am not. Hard to believe it. When you look at me, you probably think, wow, that guy must be a doctor. But I'm not. I do have a fake doctorate because I think I'm funny. But I am not a doctor. All right, so that's a nice little handle for us to paint this with. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to get our lighter here. We're going to kill spider webs. Bye, spider webs. You can't live in Minecraft. I don't like you. Ugh. Oh, look, that came up off the base. We need that to be sturdy. So we're going to hold that for a minute and get it down there where it needs to be. I think we got most of the spider webs here. Okay. This base could do with some rocks for sure. That would be nice, but we don't have any on there, so we're not going to worry about it too much. You know what? Heck with it. Let's get a rock on there too. Just to make it look a little more like there's a rock on there. So I think the logical thought would be like maybe the rocks would be around the pillars that support it, the structure. That might be like one of the go-to thoughts on that. I don't know. You tell me what you think. Let me know in the comments. Say, hey, Chris, you're dumb. You're stupid, Ned. And I'll say, oh, you're right. Damn it. All right, so let's get a rock here and a rock here. And we want them kind of touching on the corner so that when this glue drips down here, the surface tension pushes it between them and locks them into place. Okay, so we got one rock and one rock. Can you see those down here? They're just rocks. This is nothing fancy. And once you put these down, you might not be able to get them back up. So super glue is pretty intense and pretty permanent. And you want that to, if you can, get it on the touching the stick, you really want to do that. Like the support stick that's holding it up. If you can get it to touch that when you're putting these together so that it sticks to all three parts, that would be ideal. So it's sticking to the base, to the other rock, and to the stick. And then we'll do one more over here as like part of the steps, maybe. Just like at one point in time, this was moving around and somebody had to come and shove a thing against it here. Push that up there and do a little more glue on the outside. All right, so that's the gist of this. Where's that mini at? Here's a mini. So you can kind of see how big it is in scale to him. It's not enormous, but it's different and it's storable. It's not enormous. This thing ultimately, I don't have a tape measure down here. This thing is ultimately about, let me try this side, about 5 inches tall, so it's not enormous. And it's as big as a CD base across. It goes off a little bit on the edges. But as long as you have some flat sides of the CD base exposed, like this, you can store them and they take up the same amount of space. And that's the goal, is to kind of like have your stuff where you can store it. And you want it to also, like these plastic bases, one, they create like a standard size for a lot of your terrain. That's why I like using the CD. And the other reason is they're sturdy. You don't have to use them, guys. You can use cardboard or styrofoam, whatever you have, chipboard, notebook covers, whatever you have, you can use. Wood. It's important that you're crafting. It's not important what you're using. So just because I have my theories about, like, well, I think plastic is great. Yes, I do. It's not perfect and it doesn't solve every problem. It's very useful and I have them. But if I didn't have them, and I used to not have them, I used whatever I could find. And you do that too, all right? Use what you can find. It's more important that you're putting stuff on your tabletop to create a fantastic world and to create elevations and line of sight issues. That's more important. To create that fantasy and create some trauma to add to the fight is more important than what you've made it out of or how beautiful it is. So take the time to make terrain out of whatever you got. All right, so anyways, if you like what you saw here, like and subscribe, obviously, because that's the thing. If you want to support the channel, I don't do Patreon, that kind of stuff. I feel weird about that stuff. I'm not interested. It's not my thing. I'm not in this to make money. It's not my job. I do this for fun. So, let's do some snips here. So, yeah, I don't, that's not my bag. But you can buy miniatures from us, dungeonswag.com. We have a beautiful, beautiful catalog of miniatures. And even though we don't sell a lot of them as one-offs, every month we send a monthly box out with 6, 7, 8 highly detailed, beautiful miniatures made out of very flexible, bendy, sturdy resin for your tabletop game. If you're trying to get different kinds of mobs, we've done a hobgoblin box, an orc box, a dwarf box, an elf box, a bugbear box, a barbarian box, a knight box. We just do different boxes to try to fill it out to where you can use it for different skirmish games and to buff out your D&D miniatures collection. Once or twice a year, we do a box of just a mix of cool heroes. I think we're working on a goblin box coming up here. So just in the goblin box, since we do it kind of by how much the miniatures weigh, the goblin box is likely going to have more in it than, a box of barbarians. So that's kind of how that works. So thanks for watching and have an awesome day. I'll see you at part 3.